and Honorable Director of IARI, Dean and Joint Director Education, to kindly occupy their seat on the dais. I am delighted to invite the speaker of this session and the recipient of 25th Hooker Award, Dr. Ravish Chandra, Principal Scientist, Institute of Wheat and Barley Research, Karnal, to kindly join the dignitaries on the dais. I request all the dignitaries on the dais for the lighting of the flag. I request Ma'am Rashmi, Dean and Joint Director Education, IARI, for formal welcome.
Thank you, Rolf. Good morning and welcome all of you on this important session of Hooker Award lecture presentation. Respected Professor R.B. Singh, former member National Commission for Farmers, Government of India, and former chairman SRB New Delhi, and chairperson of today's lecture, Dr. Ravish Chandra, Principal Scientist, Indian Institute of Wheat and Barley Research, Karnal, recipient of Hooker Award, Joint Director Research, Dr. A.K. Singh, Project Director, heads of the divisions, professors, faculty, ladies and gentlemen. I extend a very warm welcome to all of you on this third day of Convocation Week program and on this particular session on Hooker Award lecture presentation during our 57th Convocation program. In this session, the winner of the Hooker Award, Dr. Ravish Chandra, Principal Scientist, whom I congratulate on behalf of faculty, director and others. He is from Indian Institute of Wheat and Barley Research, Karnal, and he will deliver the lecture on his outstanding contributions in the field of his research. First of all, I would like to request our director, Dr. A.K. Singh, on behalf of faculty and students and others, to welcome our chairperson of today's this ceremony, Professor R.B. Singh, with a bouquet of flowers. I would also like to request our director to welcome Dr. Ravish Chandra, the awardee, with a bouquet of flowers. mentioned earlier, this Hooker Award has been initiated in 1972, and this was instituted by the Indian Agricultural Research Institute, New Delhi, to recognize the outstanding contributions in any field of agriculture, that is animal husbandry, agriculture, fisheries, leading to increase in food production. The award has been instituted on the basis of legacy bequeathed to the institute by Mr. and Mrs. Richard Hooker of USA. The Hooker Award is made in alternate years, which carries a cash prize of 15,000 and a citation. So we are very happy, and it's a pleasant moment that Dr. Ravish Chandra from Wheat and Barley Institute has been selected for this particular award. So we welcome all of them. We welcome Ravish Chandra and the chairperson on the dais. So,
thank you, ma'am. We are honored to have with us Professor R.B. Singh. As the chairman of the session, I now request Honorable Director of IARI to kindly introduce the chairman of today's session, Professor R.B. Singh, to the August gathering.
Professor R.B. Singh, the chairperson of today's function, Dr. Chatra, Dr. S.P. Agarwal, the Dean, Dr. A.K. Singh, Joint Director, Dr. Munjaya, professors and heads, dear faculty members and students. It's my proud privilege to welcome all of you in this Hooker Award lecture ceremony. And we have been honored with the kind presence of Dr. R.B. Singh, the Padam Bhushan, who is known all across the country. He doesn't need any introduction, but it has to be introduced as the occasion demands. Sir, you have contributed enormously to the NRS, and not in India but all across the globe. You are one of the living legend and role model for all of us in general and to younger generation in particular. You have been a leader in true sense, providing leadership in the field of agriculture in national, international, and global capacities. Professor Singh has a brilliant track record. He did his PhD in genetics at the North Carolina State University, USA in 1964, and joined as economic botanist cotton at PAU Hisar campus 1964 to 69. At the age of 29 only, he was professor, head and dean of the faculty at Meerut University, Himachal Pradesh University, Palampur, and then BHU Varanasi respectively. In 1979, Professor Singh joined the FAO as Regional Coordinator Plant Production and Protection Officer at Bangkok, and as Senior Officer Research and Technology Development FAO, Headquarter Rome. In 1995, he joined as Director IARI, New Delhi. He is remembered as a very dynamic and inspiring visionary director. The Vision 2020 document given by him still forms the track on which IARI activities are being rolled on. During 1999 to 2000, Professor Singh served as the chairman ASRB. Later, he was appointed as member of the National Commission for Farmers 2004 and 6, whose recommendations are being now implemented by the Government of India. And many of the time, Honorable Prime Minister, Minister of Agriculture, and many those who are concerned at the national level, they have been citing that report. We have been naming it as a MS Swaminathan report many times, but we know that the kind of contribution made by you, sir, in that report, in drafting that report and bringing so many of recommendations about which government probably said that they have been able to implement all those recommendations. He has also served as the President of National Academy of Agriculture Sciences, New Delhi, and he has been Chancellor CAU during 2014 to 17. Professor Singh has the distinction of having successfully guided 42 PhD scholars and authored over 300 research policy papers and 12 books. He has won many awards, including Lal Bahadur Shastri Memorial International Agricultural Scientist Award for outstanding outstanding service to international agriculture and food security. He was awarded prestigious Padma Bhushan in 2003 by Government of India. There are many achievements and laurels which you have achieved. I cannot mention here. And many of us have been known to you since quite long. Many of us have been your student also. It's a great learning all the time, not in the scientific venture, but otherwise also the kind of the whole attitude toward agriculture, science, and the kind of human behavior you display all the time. Whenever occasion comes, and the extraordinary orator that again a kind of quality you possesses, all the forums wherever you go. And at one place I was there when Mahendra Samriddhi Award was given to you. He spoke in Hindi that day and it was so wonderful. So many people were cheering for that lecture by you. So we hope that today also you will be guiding us, and at the end you will be giving your expert remarks and will be all benefited. On behalf of IARI fraternity and on behalf of all the faculty members and students, I welcome you here, sir, and wish that you continue to support us and guide us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. I now request the Honorable Chair of this session, Professor R.B. Singh, for opening remarks and to kindly introduce the meritorious awardee of this prestigious Hooker Award to the House.
Honorable Director of the Institute, Dr. Singh, the Dean of the Postgraduate School, Rashmi, the Joint Director of Research, Ashok, Joint Director Extension, where is he? JP, many heads of the division, I see other very distinguished colleagues, fellow students, ladies and gentlemen. I must thank you, Mr. Director, and the concerned organizers for having given me the opportunity to come home. Coming to IARI is coming home, and it always makes you feel homely. Therefore, I am so delighted to be with my colleagues and friends and fellow students. I am so delighted that this session is to award an outstanding scientist, Dr. Ravish Chandra, who has contributed immensely in terms of enhanced and sustained food production in the country. And if today anything is required more and more, is the nutritious, diversified food system which can meet the foremost requirement of the nation, that bring zero hunger and alleviate poverty in this great nation. While our Prime Minister aims to build a new India, we are suffering from, unfortunately, persistent, rather persisting undernutrition, now also malnutrition. And that is the deprivation which allows the humanity to swim in the backwaters of development. And how we can have it all India, new India, if a very large part of your population is swimming in the backwaters of deprivation, hunger, poverty, undernutrition. I am very grateful to Dr. Chatrath that his mind and soul is there to handle this very major problem of India, that is enhancing the nutritional adequacy, food security of people and reaching the last person in the line who would be able to buy the food at the right price provided the food is increased in its terms of production and reduced in terms of cost. So there is a way by which one can reach, and this is all his lifelong work has been. Of course, by the way of description of his career and so on and so forth, all I can say, he has a very distinguished career. He is a graduate master's PhD from Punjab Agriculture University, Ludhiana, which I had the privilege of serving in my very early years of career, a professional career. As I was introduced, I joined there in 1964 as an associate professor and economic botanist cotton when I was 24 years old. And when I went to meet the then Vice Chancellor of that university, P.N. Thapar, he could not believe me that I am here to be as the economic botanist cotton and associate professor of this great university. And immediately, the second day, he took me for lunch and we discussed at length what can be done, what can we do. A refreshing kind of thinking that Air India, and he comes from that university, which has nurtured the right kind of people, and he is one of them. Also, I noticed that he had traveled to Kazri in Jodhpur, but then most of his time he has been at the IWB Karnal as the principal scientist for the last 17 years or so. As a matter of fact, his work has won him several awards. These awards include the Gene Stewardship Award, the Padma Shri Dr. M.V. Rao Memorial Award, Chaudhry Devilal Outstanding Highly Acquired Research Product Award. He is the Fellow of our Academy, National Academy of Agricultural Sciences, and so on and so forth. His major scientific achievements among 17 wheat varieties that he has developed, but I noticed the most important thing, that several of the varieties that he has developed are biofortified. As you all know, the kind of price that India pays every year for undernutrition is about 14 billion US dollars. Is the price India pays every year in terms of its GDP because of hunger, undernutrition, health causes, and so on. Any variety, wheat, maize, any other crop that is fortified in terms of zinc, iron, or for that purpose vitamin A and so on and so forth, is really reducing that 14 billion US dollar which is exchanged every year from India. So although it is not listed here, I thought I would like to highlight anyone who is working on these kinds of, without sacrificing the yield of a major commodity, if you are adding the nutritional value to it, you are having a nutrition sensitive transformation of agriculture, which is leading to something which has been a catastrophe in this nation to be alleviated. And therefore, Dr. Chatra, I congratulate you for doing some of that excellent work. I don't want to read the many of the varieties that you have developed. All those who are aware of the wheat work would be able to know it. But all I can see that several of its varieties are in great demand and occupy a very large area on the basis of request for the breeder seed production. Okay. Dr. Chatrat has coordinated the screening of segregating lines for UG99 in Kenya. As you all know, you have to be forewarned, you have to be prepared, you have to be really in advance pre-think that this is likely to happen. And if you're so-called the anticipatory research, if we can take, it means you're thinking ahead of others. Any eventuality which may come and impact your livelihood, he has really also been working in that area so that you can defy or you can repel or you can keep away UG99, and for that purpose many of those kinds of things. Many basic work like double applieds and so on and so forth in wheat, maize causes and collaboration with several scientists from outside, including UK, are his major contributions. Also, he has developed an online wheat database, and databases of the right kind are absolutely necessary for your information sharing. And if you want to behave and work through the knowledge support system, then databases are the basic requirement for communication in the right scientific language, and he has been able to contribute to it. As a matter of fact, he has a very high publication citation index, and those indices speak volumes about his seriousness behind the purpose and his contribution. So, mind you, dear friends, he has been a basic researcher, outstanding basic researcher. At the same time, he has used his basic research for strategic and applied research, and the applied research has converted into something which, if it is tangible, we will be able to hold it in your hand. Those varieties, 17 varieties, you can always hold them in your hand. So not only the so-called the basic research, which is romantic, at the same time he has something which you can hold in your hand in terms of varieties, and those varieties are adding more grains, more nutrition every day to those who need it the most. And this is his contribution. So with these words, I leave it for him and you to really see each other and see how best he has been able to contribute to the national overall livelihood security. Thank you, and Dr. Chandra, I have the privilege and pleasure to invite you to make a presentation.
Most Honorable Professor R.B. Singh Ji, the chairperson of this session, Dr. A.K. Singh, the director of this prestigious institution, Dr. Rashmi Agarwal, Dean of the Postgraduate School, Dr. A.K. Singh, Director of Research, all the head of the divisions, faculty, and dear students. It's indeed a great honor to be bestowed upon the 25th Booker Award for the biennium 2016-17 by this prestigious institution, that is IARI. Furthermore, this is the most cherished moment of my life, and which I'm going to remember forever, for standing before you and in the chairmanship of our beloved Professor R.B. Singh Ji, that I'm sharing my achievements that I have been able to perform throughout my career. I start with a tribute and gratitude to late Mr. and Mrs. Richard Booker of Longmeadow, Massachusetts, in whose name this award has been instituted. Before I embark upon the journey of my wheat research, for the benefit of the august audience, a few slides on the current wheat production that I'd like to share, because since 1965, when the AICRP on wheat started and the green revolution set in, we had a whooping increase in production to the tune of 799% and productivity of 274. We have touched 99.6 million tons, which is the fourth advanced estimate, and I'm sure we will be crossing 100 million tons in the last season, which is the target set for us for 2020. We have been able to achieve it in 1 year before the set target. And as you see that we have been inching up since 3 years. We had a little dip in 2014-15, but we are going up, and this is because of the team of wheat researchers at my institute and across whole of the country, working in a well set up quantity system, which is the second largest in India and even in Asia. This is the production share from different states that we are having. I just wanted to share that though Punjab and Haryana, having less area, are contributing in a large amount to the wheat basket. The further increase in production, the further targets have been set, they have only to be met from the state of Uttar Pradesh and especially the eastern part of Uttar Pradesh, where we are still hoping that this is going to be one of the most significant breakthrough that we are going to have in the coming years. And we have achieved the all-time highest productivity of 3371 kg, and this is just a little below the two important states of Punjab and Haryana. That's the down, but if we have to achieve the future targets, all these states have to come up. I'll be coming in one of the slides and I'll be showing that. Now the challenges is immense. The population is growing and we need nearly 300 million tons by 2030, and this population is expected to reach 1.5 billion by 2030. So the population pressure is there, and we are facing the pressure of the climate change, be it biotic stresses and abiotic stresses, drought, heat, salinity, temperature increase. All are these going to be the major challenges that have to be overcome, and that are going to be the major hindrances in increasing our wheat productivity. But since we have already been achieving our targets, I hope with the hard work of all the scientists, we'll be able to achieve that also. Now this is the target set for 2050. We need to produce 140 million tons, and this has to come through research, management of resources and policy governance. And we need to increase the production by nearly 1.35 million tons per annum to achieve this 140 million ton. National productivity has to go up to 46, which is somewhere around 3.7, but it has to go up to 46 quintals, and we need to give about 42 kg per hectare has to be added to the yield per annum to reach that particular target. We have a well system of release of varieties, and we have 438 varieties since 1965. Now these varieties have been able to bring up this production in conjunction with the agronomy and other sciences, and as you see, they have been a constant genetic gain that we are having. The latest two mega varieties, 2967, 3086, more than 7 tons per hectare. So these varieties that have been developed, my little contribution have been towards these varieties also, and I'm going to share with you the varieties that I have released during my career. Now my journey in wheat research, I joined PAU Ludhiana and I did my MSc and PhD, and fortunately I worked on wheat itself at that time, and for a little period between 1985 to 1988 I joined Kazri, and I was posted at a small regional station called as Pali, where I tried to work on wheat, but it was not possible because of the high temperatures and sand and sandy soil. So I worked on pearl millet for that period. But after that I was transferred to CSSRI, and I stayed in CSSRI for 13 years working for salinity stress in wheat. That was my major challenge, to breed varieties under stress condition, because salinity, as you know, behaves like in a temporal and a spatial manner. So screening for varieties was a big job, and also developing screening methodologies and also studying the genetic of salt tolerance till 2001, when I was selected as a principal scientist at the Indian Institute of, then DWR, now Indian Institute of Wheat and Barley Research. And these are my little contributions: development of varieties, biofortification in wheat, improving water use efficiency through root and shoot traits, then combining Indian and Australian rust resistance, bioinformatics promotion program, and also UG99 anticipatory breeding. Now, just briefly, I'll go through the varieties that I've been able to develop. I will start in a chronological order from the latest to the ones that have been released earlier. These are the wheat varieties having high yield potential in a timely soil irrigated condition. This is the variety that we have released just very recently. It was identified in the last workshop and will be notified by CVRC very soon. This variety is for timely irrigated stone condition of the northeastern plain zone. Since pretty long time we were not having any good variety that could outstand the other varieties. Now this variety has been in great demand and we have pushed this variety into many areas in the northeastern plain zone, and I am very sure that this is going to do pretty well in enhancing the productivity of that zone. Also, this has also performed well in the northwestern plain zone, and there is a proposal to extend this variety to the northwestern plain zone in another year or so. The next is the DBW88. This was notified in 2014, and this is also for the timely sown irrigated condition of the northwestern plain zone. Then DBW621-50. This was a joint release because selections were done by PAU and by IARI independently. So this was a joint release with PAU Ludhiana, and this was a replacement. Now, since PBW343 went susceptible to yellow rust, then another variety, that is DBW17, was developed, which could tackle the yellow rust and could replace. Replacement of PBW343 was started with DBW17, but then DBW17 also, because after some time it became susceptible to yellow rust. So this was the variety that took up from DBW17, and this is the breeder seed production. Then DBW39, another for timely sown condition of the northeastern plain zone. DBW38, again for the timely sown condition of northeastern plain zone. Now this is the variety I was talking about, DBW17. This was the need of that hour at the time when PBW343 had come to yellow rust. Now also developed varieties for tolerance to terminal heat stress, and they were late sown, early maturing. DBW173 is the currently released variety just before the 187, that the first variety, and this is the released 1 year before. This is for the late sown condition of Haryana, Punjab, for the northwestern plain zone, and this variety is in a great demand. We last year we gave seed to farmers, and we could only give 2 kilos of seed, and to our surprise, farmers from as far as Firozpur and Boga, they all came and took this variety, and we are getting reports that this variety is doing very well even under the timely sown condition. And so this variety again is doing well in the northwestern plain zone. Then GBW107, this was for the late sown condition of the northeastern plain zone, because after late harvest of rice in eastern India, this is the variety, this type of varieties are more suited. Then DBW19, again for the late sown condition of the northwestern plain zone. DBW71, again the late sown variety for the northwestern plain zone, released in 2013. And HD2985 for the late sown irrigated conditions of northeastern plain zone. Then DBW16, again for the late sown conditions of northwestern plain zone. DBW14, this was the first variety that was released when I joined IWBR, or GW at that time, and I would like to greatly acknowledge my present director, Dr. G.P. Singh, who was at that time a scientist in IWBR, and I joined as a principal scientist, and I took over the charge from him, and all his breeding material and everything I was having, and I carried on that legacy that Dr. G.P. Singh had left, and as a result of this, a lot of varieties I could develop. So we had some varieties which for the limited irrigation having better water use efficiency, like DBW110 for the central zone, DBW193 for the peninsular zone. Now this is the biofortification in wheat for nutritional security. As you know, as Professor R.B. Singh ji also was saying about the nutrition security, 2 billion people worldwide do not get enough essentials and minerals in their diet, and inadequate zinc intake affects 17.3% of the world population, mostly across Asia and Africa, and nearly more than 400,000 children die under the age of 5 each year because of the deficiency of zinc. So the objective that we took was developing germplasm in enhanced grain micronutrients, the multi-location evaluation, and also we wanted to evaluate all our entries that are being tested in the ECRIP system for their zinc status, and also the germplasm, the vast amount of germplasm that we have in our repository. We also screened the germplasm and identified superior genotypes. We started a special biofortification trial and then also a special biofortification nursery, and this was also incorporated into a coordinated system, and this is the flow of how we develop. We have direct selections or through the crossing program, and then we have 3 years testing under the special wheat biofortification nursery. These are the 2 trials from where selections are being done for direct introduction of some varieties, because these are coming from the Harvest Plus trial, which have good zinc. We also evaluated the ABT entries for zinc and iron, and we see that the range is quite less as compared to the zinc-rich varieties, so there was a need to improve upon the zinc. So this is the first biofortified variety WB2 that was developed and released by CBRC in 2017. It has got an average yield of nearly 52 quintals per hectare and has a high zinc of 42 ppm. Now this is an average of several locations, so we had a higher zinc value at some of the locations. Now this all depends upon how rich your zinc, the soil is there in zinc, because there is a need to put the zinc fertilizer, otherwise the varieties will not be able to mine the zinc. And it also has high iron and good quality characteristics, good protein, 12.4, and this is the variety which is becoming very popular in Punjab and Haryana. Lot of demand for this variety. We have done some basic work also. So we found that there is positive correlation between zinc and iron. If you increase the zinc, the iron also increases. And there is no association of iron and zinc with grain yield. So we can have both higher grain yield as well as higher zinc and iron. And we had a diverse set of 330 HPAN associated mapping lines, and we have done genomic predictions. And these are the genomic prediction for zinc and iron. So genomic selections hold a great potential for biofortification breeding to enhance zinc and iron in our germplasm. Also, we did genome-wide association studies for identifying key genomic regions associated with grain zinc content, and this SNP was used to genotype a diverse panel of 330 high zinc wheat lines, and 2 major SNPs were identified on chromosome 2A and 5A, and 2 major putils were identified on chromosome 2B and 7B. So this is being utilized in our breeding program for enhancing the zinc available zinc contents. So we had the popularization of this zinc WB2 variety. So as I was telling, when I joined CSSRI Karnal, I started working on the breeding for wheat varieties for salinity tolerance, which was a big challenge. And about 4.5 million hectares under wheat is under salinity stress, and salt tolerance and that can tolerate soil pH up to 8.5 and exchangeable sodium ESP around 15%. This could be useful alternatives. And this is a complex abiotic traits. You can see there's a myriad of sodium toxicity, carbonate toxicity. There are a lot of toxicities that affect, and plus salinity being temporal and spatial creates a lot of problem for the breeders for screening. So we had initiated screening in microplots where we can identify lines. Now this is the variety that I released, CRL19, having tolerance to salinity. and also having high yield and resistance to yellow rust and brown rust. And this is the variety which has become very popular. And now this was released about more than 15 years back. Now this is being slowly replaced by the new varieties. So also new genetic stocks, some of the genetic stocks also been developed by me, and these are the ones that are being registered with the National Board of Plant Genetic Resources. So this is a summary of the wheat varieties, 17 varieties, and last 3 years I was lucky to release variety every year, so I had a hat trick in that manner. So the breeder seed, the revenue generated by these varieties during last is about 1 crore 50,000, 1 crore 50 lakhs, and this is added to the revenue generation of the institute. And we have been delivering this genetic into the farmers by holding a lot of trainings and popularizing these wheat varieties, not only in our area but even in the eastern India region. And the revenue generated from the latest variety which I was talking about, DBW73, we had breeder seed and TL was produced. It was licensed to 54 companies. For the first time, IARI were initiated in the licensing of wheat varieties, and this is the revenue that was generated from this variety. These are the 21 genetic stocks that have been developed by me and in association with my other colleagues as well. So we had also worked for about 9 years on a project with CSIR Australia, working on root and establishment rate, and this was a great learning experience for us. As you know that drought, we have about 143.8 million hectares arable, and out of which rainfed and dryland area is 65 and 34. And this is the red is the water stress indicator. So drought, especially in central India, is a major challenge, central and peninsular India. So we had the benefit of some of the lines developed in Australia for different traits. I will be coming to that. And we had those lines with us, and we also had our own restricted irrigation and rainfed lines which had better water use efficiency. And the aim was to provide breeders in India and Australia with sources and selection tools to put these traits into varieties to be utilized by the farmers. So we had this germplasm from Australia for 4 major traits: early vigor, so that early vigor growth in seedling stage increasing land shading and minimize water loss from the soil. Tiller inhibition, 10 gene reduces the number of unproductive tillers. Then deep roots extract water from deep soils, and then the alternate growing genes, where we can sow them on a deep because they have a long volatile. So these are the validations we did for 10 gene under drought stress, had a high correlation with grain yield and harvest index, and some of the genotypes identified with 10 gene and having high grain yield. For early also we identified a number of genotypes, and for also sowing at 15 centimeter depth, we could find that the lines having these genes could emerge well because of the long volatile. Then the RST2 does not have a long volatile, and they could not survive deep sowing. Now the fact of deep sowing is in case of drought, you have moisture at the lower levels, so where you can sow it deep, so the seed can take the moisture from the lower levels and grow properly. Also, genotypes have been identified for deeper roots. Now this was a very difficult job because we had the manual coring, because in Australia they did it by machines, but we did it manually, but still we could manage to core a lot of sites to evaluate the germplasm, the material that we were handling. And also we had the molecular characterization for alternate dwarfing genes. And the impact of this project is that some of the lines having the alternate dwarfing genes have been developed, and now they are in the 4 entries are in the preliminary trials for rainfed condition in our institute, and we have identified varieties with deeper roots from this project. And these are the 2 important publications that we had. This is the Journal of Experimental Biology. Deep roots to increase the amount of subsoil moisture accessibility. Main is that if you have the deep roots, you have the better water use efficiency. And also, I was just talking about, this is the corer that we use in Australia, and this is the coring that we should do. But we could match with the quantum of work that we could do here and in Australia. We also had a project with the University of Sydney where we worked on the molecular marker technologies for faster wheat breeding, especially for rust resistance. And this was probably the first opportunity that we had at our institute to work on the molecular markers. And these are the different genes. We combined the Australian and the Indian genes for rust resistance. And these are the Indian genes, and these are the Australian genes that we utilize, and this is the donors that we had in the Indian varieties. And these are the different breeding material generated over the years, and the markers were used to track these genes. And this is the population that is growing. And I would also like to share that some of the lines, they have gone into the national trials from this program. So the impact was that parental profiling of both Indian and Australian genes were done, and application in segregating generations were also done. We have good resistant, good plant type, and it also fits into different maturity groups, the materials that we have developed. And also we had large data set, because I was trained in ISIS. That was a data management program developed by CGIAR, and I was trained in that, and we could put all this data into that particular data management program. And this is then ISIS was a bit difficult to manage because it was not user friendly. Then another breeding management system was developed in CIMET, and then we also got trained in that and could transfer all our data into this new system, which is still working. I also was a coordinator of a bioinformatics promotion program that was from the Department of Electronics, Ministry of Communication, Government of India, which was nearly 2.54 crore. And one of the objectives in that was the wheat database that is developed, and it is online, and this is now being updated. We have about 381 varieties that is listed. You put any traits into that. If you put red glue or white chaff, the varieties that have that particular trait, it will be identified. Anticipatory breeding for UG99 resistance. This was in one of the projects that we handled. I was the PI of that project, and the CISA project. And we had different centers. We coordinated the testing of the lines for UG99 in Kenya and Ethiopia, and different lines we could identify having resistance to UG99, and from there we became very satisfied that our lines which are in the pregnancy chain have resistance to UG99, so there's not much need to be afraid of UG99 if ever it comes into India. So this is the project that we're working, and we had two important publications coming out of it. This was the stable QTL. We could identify stable QTL for yield and associate traits across several environments. The phenotyping was done in Mexico, West Asia, North Africa, and our South Asian regions, and identified several major QTLs associated with yield components, and physiological traits in spring wheat across a diverse set of wheat growing areas. Stable QTL for yield on chromosome 4A was confirmed across several environments, and a major QTL for days to heading was identified for chromosome 7DB, which was linked heliotropic for almost all other traits. And a stable genotype across several environments based on the expression of yield per se was identified within the progeny. And we also had another for crop research, which shows that selecting for earliness would help in identifying varieties which are of high yield. As already spoken, I have had the privilege of getting some awards, the Padam Shri S.B. Rao Award, the PGRNG Stewardship Award. This award was given for our efforts in developing wheat varieties having rust resistance across India. And I was also nominated as a fellow of the National Academy of Agricultural Sciences. Very much honored to be I had visited about 17 countries, and these are the important institutes. The most important is CIVIT, ICARDA, IARI Philippines, to Develop Institute in St. Petersburg, the Kenya Agricultural Research, where we worked on UG99, the Plant Breeding Institute in Poverty in Sydney, where we worked on the markers, CSRI Canberra, we worked on the root project, Western Agriculture Perth, we worked on the drought there. University of Canterbury, that was my first visit to UK, where I did a training on experiment, the design of experiments. So these are the different places that I've been to. And the flagship program that I've handled is the molecular markers for faster wheat breeding, the root and shoot program, the wheat biofortification cereal system initiative, and the agri-bioinformed distribution that I've already spoken. And the capacity building is the crop experimentation for developing countries. I had a training in that, the development of double haploids, then the breeders training in ISIS in IARI, then for the stem rust in Najoro, Kenya, and food and agribusiness management program of corn in US. I've also been fortunate for having very good senior research fellows and research fellows, and I have been a mentor for them. And one of my SRF got the John Wright Fellowship of Australia for doing PhD at the University of Sydney, and some of the other research fellows are working at the University of Massachusetts, Power Atomic Research Center, JNU, and Mahindra Shub Lab Company, and DGI in Chandigarh. This is my publications. And I would like to acknowledge the directors of DWR and IIWBR, directors of CSSRI, from CIVIT, University of Sydney, CSIRO, CIVIT Servicing, and the Harvest Plus, Pfeiffer and Godinder, CISA, Department of Electronics, and Australian Council of ACAR. Here I will fail in my duty if I do not acknowledge my mentors, starting from Dr. Khem Singh Gill, Dr. V.P. Gupta, the famous quantitative geneticist with whom I did my MSc and PhD, Dr. J.L. Minocha, Dr. Akshay Gupta, Dr. Kulbir Singh Gill, Dr. B.S. Dhillon, Dr. Khera, and many others. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for presenting your remarkable contributions in food and nutritional security of the country and bringing new insights from the current research. May I now request to the chairman of the session for the expert remarks.
Friends, these lectures generally probably do not allow questions and discussions, but obviously you will have always an opportunity. You know him, his address, and anything that you would like to know from him. You can always communicate and get the best out of him. Let me first thank, of course, the outstanding presentation and the many successes that we have just listened from the person who has discovered them. So, first of all, we would like to congratulate him, give him a big hand for the congratulations for the award that he is getting. Let me also take the privilege of thanking the Hookers for their foresight, for their thinking all the way from Long's Meadow in Massachusetts in USA. They thought of India and a place in India, IARI, and probably they knew the connection between IARI, the people who have been associated with the system here, or with the ICR system per se as a whole, who will be able to contribute to enhance food production and quality in this country to meet the food requirements in the country. And probably thinking of that, Hooker in 72, this was instituted. 72 were the early years, of course, of the still of Green Revolution, and before that, you know, in the mid-60s, India was in a very bad shape. It is quite possible Hookers were here in India, and they had seen that probably India is suffering because of the Pilot brothers' predictions and so on and so forth, and he might have been moved by that, and he thought of instituting an award for someone who does a research which translates into a product which increases the food production in any field of agriculture. And this is purposeful, and therefore I thank those people who have in a very humble, small way been able to give incentivization to good workers, brilliant workers. All of you are the potential Chatras, and each one of you can aspire for awards like Hooker Award or many other and much more prestigious awards, and therefore I think it is very important to connect you with the institution of these awards and probably what could have been the basis in those early days, because India needed more food than any other country, and anyone who can contribute to additional production of food would be most welcomed and must be incentivized, and this is why this award. This is how I look at it. Probably more details could be found. I must also, this is from entire agriculture, the agriculture taken in a very comprehensive sense, not only crops, horticulture, or fish, animals, and everything taken together. And out of that, he has been chosen. So therefore, all the more it is very important, and I am very pleased that you are here because of your contributions that you have made. And I congratulate the jury, the selection committee, which was able to identify out of several candidates and so on, who have really selected the right person who will inspire others in times to come. Well, there is not much to summarize. He was so obvious in making his presentation so clear. But then a couple of points that India so far has done extremely well. We are running ahead of the targets fixed, and we were supposed to get 100 million tons by 2020, which probably we achieved in 1 year ahead of that. And this is again congratulations to all those who have been working in wheat, the wheat farmers, everyone who has really made this happen. Very seldom we meet targets, and meeting targets ahead of time is something, again, a great thing and a great encouragement. Hopefully, despite all the challenges that the country faces, population, climate, socio-economic, or the change in the food habits and so on, I am sure the targets for 2030 and 2050, including for the SDG goals, will also be met by, at least in those areas where people like Chatras are working, and they will be able to achieve the target. We must be very positive in our thinking, and I think we have proven that with good science, with delivery at the ground level, you can make the targets be met. And you have done that, which I think should be a lesson taken by each one of us. I think the other good thing which I notice here, if we look at the differentiated approach of development of any commodity or crop in the country, if we look at the spatial, temporal, scientific gaps and differences, and in that process, if you see, the government of India had a program for greening Eastern India. And here, again you see here, because they felt the second revolution, the second green revolution, government of India thought will come from Eastern India. And now plain zone of wheat, that is including mostly the Eastern India, and so on and so forth, coincides with that. Chatrat, which is very important for us, I thought I must connect this to you, because the government of India's desire you are fulfilling without letting it know, let people know it, that you have done what government of India has been wanting by the DBW variety release, which is doing as well in the northeastern plains zone as it is doing in the northwestern plain zone. Because we developed this variety for northeastern plain zone, now this variety is doing extremely well in the northeastern plain zone also. Probably in more zones will do, and there is adaptability major probably in this variety which is allowing this to keep moving and moving. So this is great. I would like you to take this lesson, and those who are working on those lines, please see the adaptability of your mega varieties and see if you can take them to other regions also which are suffering from lack of one or the other region, and you can make the difference. And here is an excellent example that can be done. Likewise, your in biotic and abiotic management and stresses. Again, combines the holistic approach of plant breeding, that is the adaptability not only in terms of geographic adaptability, but also biotic, abiotic, stress management adaptability is very important, including, as a matter of fact, in early January, I was in Banaras. I was staying in those areas, in many other areas. I traveled for miles together. I saw that even in the month of January, by 10, 12 January, the first irrigation was not given to wheat crop. Wheat crop was about 15 days old or 10 days old or so and so forth. So most of the sowing in those areas is coming to be very late. And if you do not have a variety suitable for late sown conditions of wheat, you will compromise with your crop. Therefore, again, I congratulate you for coming up with a variety which is suitable for late sown conditions. And DBW173 and others, as you mentioned, are becoming very important, will become very important for those regions where the wheat, by necessity, by compulsion, is to be sown late. It's not by choice. It is because rice is not vacating the field in time, and rice wheat, if it has to continue, and which does continue, then you have to have a variety which can be late sown and still give you the right yield, and this is what it is happening. And this, I think, underpins the continuity of this kind of work, which I would suggest should be taken note of. I have already mentioned about the importance of nutritional security in this country. I do not have to repeat, but still I would like to, at the cost of being repetition, underline, there is nothing more important in this country than to remove undernutrition of your children. Your children are your people of tomorrow and today, and they will build the new India. If 38% of the world undernourished children are our own children, then how can Modi ji or anybody build a new India on the soldiers of stunted, wasted children? You cannot. Therefore, wheat, which is one of the two major staples which is consumed in one or the other form in India, if it is enriched in terms of zinc, iron, vitamin A, and so on and so forth, without compromising yield, it is something like Bernard Shaw beauty. It's a beauty with intelligence combined. Yield with zinc, yield with iron, yield with vitamin A content, and so on. And that is what you have created. And therefore, I think it is extremely important that this kind of approach should continue, and there is a very strong reason for going into fortified crops breeding. Now, to do this to happen, maybe a recommendation will not come from here, but any forum that which has the earliest opportunity to mention that these wheats which are fortified, at the same time high yielding, should not only be able to give revenue to the institute that you have generated crores for your institutes by breeder seed production, but this should also be able to increase the economic condition of the farmers who grow this variety. Therefore, there should be a differential pricing mechanism. Wheat is as high yielding as the old wheat. Wheat has plus zinc, plus iron, plus vitamin A. You must pay for that. There should be a governmental policy to pay for that additional quality. And if you pay for that, you are paying for nutrition. And you are paying for something which is really a major handicap for removal. Therefore, there should be a policy change, and which I think we should take note of it. And somewhere there should be a very strong lobbying for this. International cooperation, again, you brought out very clearly, is how important. You cannot develop your vertical silos. You have to work within your institute with medical biology, biotechnology, so on and so forth, marker assessment selections and so on, which are helping you today within the system, socio-economists and others to work together. So a multidisciplinary international cooperation is absolutely necessary. And your innovative ability, even with the new types which are coming with the Sydney University cooperation, or with the ACIR, Australian Centre for International Agriculture Research, if it's coming for your help and new things are happening, we should be able to encourage this kind of collaboration, multilateral, multinational collaboration, multi-system collaboration, but you must know your place where you are and what you want to get from this. A collaboration for the sake of collaboration is not enough. As long as you are not clear what you want to get out of this collaboration, you must be able to know that this is what I want to get out of this collaboration. And he knows it, and he is able to get that, and I think this is very, very important. Therefore, I will say that again a message which is brought about, which many of us may not be able to recognize, that by bringing Sydney, CIMIT, or the Harvest Plus, or the ACIR, with the work in India, he has been able to develop broad-based populations. And if you have broad-based population, your breeding approach becomes automatically very imperative. It is much more useful. Without knowing this, he is doing it. And by doing this, you are creating altogether a new regime for plant breeding. So, if you remember Ravi Prakash from CIMIT, he talks of genetic gain moving to the right-hand side. A broad population much faster in larger intensity than otherwise. Chatrath, you are doing this, you should be able to measure it by yourself in the broad-based population. Look at the total genetic shift to the right-hand side. If this is what is happening, this is really great. Therefore, you cannot do it unless you have good data management, unless you are aware of bioinformatics, and fortunately you combine this thing with good data management, and so you are able to do that. My dear friends, I would like to close only by saying it's truly inspirational. Many good things have come out from it. You please take note of it, and I'm sure wheat and agriculture as a whole is in safe hands as long as we have outstanding colleagues and friends like Dr. Chatrath, and potentially each one of you like him or better than that in years to come. Congratulations and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, sir, for your visionary remarks and words of encouragement and praise for the recipient of this Booker Award, Dr. Ravi Chatrath. I now request to the Honorable Director of IARI, Dr. A.K. Singh, to kindly felicitate the esteemed chair of this session, Professor R.B. Singh, with a shawl and a memento as a mark of affection and acknowledgement. I now request to Ma'am Rashmi Agarwal, Dean and Joint Director Education, for the formal vote of thanks.
It's my pleasant formal duty to present before you vote of thanks for this today's Booker Award lecture presentation. I would like to first thank Professor R.B. Singh, former member National Commission on Farmers, Government of India, for kindly accepting our invitation to chair this session and delighting us and guiding us on the further future path. I'm also thankful to the speaker of this session, Dr. Ravi Chatrath, for delivering this prestigious Booker Award lecture. His contributions in the field of wheat breeding will definitely give path ahead for the future workers. I'm also thankful to all the distinguished guests who very kindly accepted our invitation and they were there in the hall to cheer the speaker. I'm thankful to Director Dr. A.K. Singh for attending this award lecture ceremony and guiding us throughout the 57th Convocation program. So we are very grateful to you, sir. My thanks are due to all joint directors, project directors, head of the departments, professors, scientists, faculty and the students for attending this memorial award lecture. And in the end, once again, thank you all of you. In continuation to this, we have the next award lecture ceremony. This is P.P. Paul award lecture ceremony. And I would like to welcome Dr. Deepak Paintal, ex-Vice Chancellor, Delhi University, who is already there in the hall, sir. We welcome you, sir. And immediately we continue with the next proceedings of the Dini Bond Memorial Award.